All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We will go ahead and call the meeting to order. It is now 18:11. Let's go ahead and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so Sean put the last two meeting minutes up at the front table. Hopefully there were enough copies for everybody to look through. Are there any questions, comments, concerns with any of the meeting minutes? Do I have a motion to accept?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. In Andy's place, I will do the chairman's report. Hopefully you guys all got the email with the attachment for the CMAC and REMSCO notes. Lots of things happened at the state meeting. We'll be going through those in a little bit. First thing we're going to talk about is the Grants Gateway. What are you, Sean?
It's not really over to me, but anyway, we did get a notice through the Grant Gateway. I did forward that on to Andrew. Some of the documents expired in what they call the vault, so Colleen was working on updating those documents. I still think there's a few that are missing, so I think the executive board is going to convene to review the missing items and try to work to get those things completed in a timely manner, so that's back online. But Colleen usually has all the information on it, and other than that, I'm not really sure what else she's got to do to get that back up to date.
So on the Grants Gateway, just so you know, it only takes one document to throw it off. You need to consistently stay qualified. If you don't stay qualified, your funding will go away.
Mm-hmm. There were, I think, 3 different ones that became delinquent all at the same time. Usually I'll get an email forwarded on to Andrew, and as soon as I got it, I sent it on, which was kind of odd that it didn't seem to come in a timely manner, but I would have thought we would have gotten some sort of notification, because I don't go in there. But I guess it's one of those things that I told Andrew, I think we're gonna have to monitor on a regular basis, not just take it for granted that it's being done because everybody's busy these days, and just to keep everybody honest and make sure that we're up to date and it doesn't get beyond, and then we're just being told, you know, well after the fact that, hey, your documents aren't up to date, and then you're scrambling to get it done again. So.
Questions? So at the CMAC REMSCO meeting, the EMS legislation subcommittee met, wanted to come up with a definition of what is EMS. So defining EMS is what we do, and instead of what is still in statute and regulation. Trying to look at establishing a payment plan through the Medicaid program for treat and place in alternative destinations. And making it EMS an essential service while outlining that government should be involved in EMS but not taking it over. Dr. Winslow related that individual providers should support the current essential legislation that is in progress right now. The direct bill pay is still on the governor's desk. We're still waiting for signatures on that. Again, unknown time frame. And it's because the insurance companies have such strong lobbying capabilities that it's kind of getting stalled in the process. Our bylaws committee is working on some proposed bylaw changes. Hopefully we will have those out for the November meeting. Now it's time for some discussion. This is our first meeting at 6 PM. What are you guys thinking? You want to try it again for November? You absolutely hate it and want to go back to 7 PM? What are some thoughts and discussions out there?
Well, we just mentioned, I think wintertime it's gonna be a tough task.
Tougher task to get here or get to the meeting by 6?
Yeah, in the winter months.
It's easy for all of us to sit here and say, yeah, it was easy, because we all made it, but it's the people that aren't here as to why they're not here kind of thing, I think, might be.
Now, I could see it more for Orleans County, because it's a shorter distance for Niagara County to come to Orleans or than to come here. For me to go to Niagara County is about an hour drive. So a 6 o'clock meeting, it means I have to leave before I have supper. And occasionally it snows.
No.
Just once in a while. Alright, so 6 is out. Hearing that a lot of people are liking 7, what about 6:30? Throw that one out the window too? So 7 PM? Such a lively discussion.
Yeah. I know it's definitely tough.
Treasurer's report?
So there were a couple of invoices that we paid. We don't have, I don't have the access to the bank statement. There were a couple outstanding invoices that need to be paid to UBMD that we got the other day. So those we've got to submit and get those paid right away. I know we have the funding in there to pay them. I think some of our challenges still not getting money through the grant gateway is going to eventually catch up with us, because there's only so much money there. And the way the grant gateway works is you spend the money, you get reimbursed for the money. It's not like they give you the money and then you get to spend the money. So you kind of always have to have a contingency or a reserve account in there, amount of money in there to be able to work off of. So not having that up to date is gonna really be problematic. So, but what did we have, 1,200? 12, so we are $3,600 in outstanding invoices to UBMD. That'll be paid next month, or this month, actually. So, but the exec board is gonna meet. Andrew already did kind of allude to the fact that we are going to meet and have a discussion about making sure we're more compliant and on top of all this stuff. So we're not sitting here.
Well, and the conversation that I had with Andy is what was going on is the invoices were going to Charlotte. So you guys had no clue that there were any invoices going on. So that has now been corrected. So the person that handles the invoicing now is copying Andy Knoll on everything.
Awesome.
So,
Yeah, that'll help.
so that way we can monitor it a little bit better.
Good.
Yeah, because we were finding out like 4 months after the invoices were sent out, why wasn't this paid? Didn't know about it.
So, over a year.
Yeah. And the other half of it is we have funds in the realm of at least 5,000, I forget what it was. I don't even remember the amount, but you're at least 5,000 to 6,000 easy in the unclaimed funds that Colleen had filed for. And at one point it was as long as our grant gateway was up to date, we could submit for the funding. It's odd that the state gives you the money but says you can't have the money, and then they hold the money. But we have to get that. I don't know where that stands, because I know that's always a topic when she's on the phone calls. So, but that would also put us back into where we need to be as far as the funding goes while we're maintaining the grant. Always a sore subject here.
All right,
Business.
so performance standards, so system safety, training and education and quality metrics subcommittees, they proposed 11 standards. Everybody but systems was published. So each agency will need to identify 3 quality improvement measures that they will be using from the state approved list to their respective regions. Each agency needs to identify their quality coordinator and demonstrate their QI activity to the respective regions. So employee, I'm missing any. No. Oh, employee injuries, vehicle incidents, alternative methods, delivery methods for EMS education, talking about the EMS class retention rate. I do have the notes from the CMAX REMSCO if you guys have any questions on any of that. I'll try and flip my way through it real quick. All right, so a big topic of education for the Training and Ed Committee is the sunsetting of the critical care level. We're kind of getting tired of people asking when it's gonna go away, so we feel pressured to put a deadline on it. I know we have several CCs in this region, so this is where I want your feedback. We were shooting around some ideas and 2030 came up in conversation. What do you guys think? By 2030, CCs either have to step up to paramedic or step down to advanced. Do you think we should put a date on it? How is this gonna affect you guys? Don't all talk at once.
I don't think there's any CCs in this county.
There's none in our county, so, I mean, for years, they've been talking about doing it. It's like, you can talk about it till you're blue in the face, give them whatever the time is to step up to be a paramedic, and that should be the day. Whatever that time frame is for someone, say by the end of this year, if it takes you 2 years to get your paramedic, you give it 2 years and end it.
Okay.
That's my opinion, because it's like, and then just go one way or the other.
There's a heavier concentration of CCs in Niagara County. So that's the area around in Big Lakes that'll be most affected.
I like the 2030 idea.
Okay. Like I said, we were just talking about it a little bit, and it was, so that would give all the CCs 1 to 2 more renewals before, and then on that last renewal, everybody would just have the expiration date of December 31st, 2029. So they would.
Now, do they get bumped back down, or down to advanced if they don't do the paramedic, or do they get bumped back down to whatever level they were before they became a CC?
That is a question I still haven't gotten an answer to, but I will do my best to get that.
Because to me, it makes sense to bump them down to advanced level, but I thought it was mentioned once before, they would go back to whatever level they were before they became a CC.
Right.
Which does not really make sense.
I don't see the point in bumping them back to whatever they were.
Right, I don't either, but I'm pretty sure that's what I heard, or maybe they were just talking about that.
There was a discussion of that at one point, Sherry, that they were just gonna bump them back down to whatever they were prior to.
And it, I mean, to me, I think that's ridiculous, because if you can take these CCs and still keep them as advanced EMTs, you know, that only benefits the community and the patients.
Right.
The question I have, is it financially beneficial to them to go from a CC to a paramedic?
It depends on what they do with them.
Where are most of the CCs in Niagara County? Are they in a volunteer, or are they in paid commercial?
Both.
Well, MT's got a ton.
Yeah, both.
Okay.
We plan on putting it in our hiring spec as well too, so, because there is such a large population of CCs in our county, we want to keep our job pools open as possible, so.
Right. I don't blame you. I just didn't realize that there were that many in Niagara County. Because every time we've said it, it's like it's, upstate New York, there's none around here, but.
Niagara County's got a ton, because NU always had the program.
Yeah, they
So rather than go to Medic, they went to CC.
Yeah, because the decision was, if you lived in Niagara County, go to NU, go to their program, the critical care program, or you drive out to Orchard Park and take paramedic.
Yeah. Makes sense.
So the original class, when was the last original class?
6 or 7 years ago.
Okay, so everybody's in a research program. Or
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, they're still recerting CCs.
right, okay.
And there was some talk about them changing the name of CCs, because people are getting confused with like paramedic CCs and the other connotations it has. Do you think it's worth changing the name for 6.5 years?
No.
Just let it ride out, let it die a
I
natural
think it's gonna
death?
confuse everybody even
It's
more.
gonna take the state 6 years to approve a name change.
All right,
You can't say it, so I won't.
Mike, you're up. If you want to give your agency report and talk about NEMSIS 3.5.
Okay. Those are all of the first page is primarily all the notices that we have sent out, correspondence we've sent out. Thank you to everybody with all your work on the portal, getting things in. We did add a spot in the portal for the CLIA license, limited lab license for VGLs. We have found that a lot of agencies are not renewing their limited lab licenses, and that's an issue. So there's now a spot in the portal where you can put your license number and your expiration date. So now that'll generate an email to you, at the 90, 60, 30 days out. So it'll remind you to get that updated. And just a reminder, if you do have the capacity to do blood glucose and your medical director is signed off on that, when you go to renew your BLSFR or your operating certificate, that CLIA license is needed. So you definitely need to make sure that that's updated. And also on the portal, everybody did a great job with their skills, and and once again, when it comes to skills and stuff like that and the credentialing, that's on your agency medical directors. But this portal gives them an avenue to look at what the providers for their agencies are doing and if they're keeping up to date on things. So the one thing that we did notice is providers are putting in that they're doing their annual skills and stuff like that, but the agency is failing to just press the submit button. So everything's being done, it's just they're not submitting. And so we have found that as we went through both this region and Wyoming Erie, it was a ton of agencies that just failed to click the submit. The other thing about that, I had some agencies call me and say, can you take this person offline? That is not our position at UBMD. We are not an enforcement agency. That's on your medical directors. So if you have an issue with somebody and you want them to show offline, you need to go to your medical director. And if the medical director wants that done, then it can be accomplished. But it's not our job at UBMD to take people offline. That's beyond our capacity. So just wanted to touch on that. Electronic PCRs and data. There's a lot going on in the data world. So we've heard about NEMSIS 3.5. The state has pushed out many updates to 3.4. There was another huge push that was supposed to be accomplished like somewhere in November. But that is now not going to happen. After some discussion at the state council meeting, it was decided that they would just go straight to 3.5 instead of pushing out another update. Now, the plus side to this is there are going to be some subtle changes and some changes to the schematron that really isn't going to affect how the program works, but it's going to reduce the number of required validations. So you should like that. The other thing is when 3.5 begins, which should be around the first of the year, the director wanted the validations to be dropped by 25%, and I believe it was dropped to around 50% less. So those are some good numbers. So it's coming. There's a lot of background work. They're still doing some testing on it, but there's some good stuff coming with this. If you're an ESO client, ESO and is primarily, there's been some problems with some of the programming with that platform. And I know we've had some meetings with ESO in Western New York to kind of talk about some of this stuff. UBMD has been granted a umbrella account for ESO. And what that account is for, it's not for us to go prying and picking at your PCRs, but it's there so we can assist agencies with some of the problems that there have been in some of the programming and background. We are lucky enough to have Rob McCartan in our office who actually helps write the rules for the state. So he's going to be a big asset with that. So basically what happened was ESO wrote a letter to all the agencies that are ESO clients and informed them of this, and the individual agency would have to grant us the access. We just can't, it's your platform. We just can't come in and say we're taking over your platform, and that's not the case. So it's not a mandatory thing, but like I said, we're here to help. So if your agency wants to do that, it's available, and you would just have to grant the access. The other thing is that we've had problems with ePCR platforms is when there are errors and error reports coming back to agencies, the way they queue the errors and the errors read out really don't reflect the actual validation numbered rule. So the PCR vendors are now going to be required to tag that error to the actual rule that New York State uses and MSIS uses, so that way we can troubleshoot it a lot faster and figure out why the charts are erroring. iGel program, we have had nothing new on the iGel program in Big Lakes. They're doing quite well across the state, but I think we have 8 agencies in Big Lakes right now that are signed on with the iGel program. I had nothing with EMSC. HCS, if anybody's is still interested in the HCS system, we do have agencies that don't have a coordinator assigned to them. So, you know, the state opened that up to all EMS providers that they could be on the HCS system. So, you know, we can definitely help onboard anybody that needs that. There were 2 new Bureau of EMS policies that were released during the state meeting. The first was 2308B, pilot programs. The pilot programs came out a few months back. There were 4 programs. Now they added a 5th program that basically focuses on recruitment retention, and it has to do with somebody that was self-funded, took a class. Now they can sign on with an agency, and after like 12 months, the agency can file a voucher for reimbursement on that class, and that can be refunded to the member. The second policy statement, 2309, and the update is 2309B. So that has to do with course funding. So if you're a course sponsor, this is very good. The EMT class went up to $950 up to 950. These are historic numbers in New York State. Advanced EMT went up as well to 950, and the PSCs also went up to like $100. So all those numbers with that increase is definitely good for our core sponsors. Muru app. A couple reminders on that. The call to action number across our region. So when you bring up the Muru app and you press the call button, it is programmed to contact medical control. We have had an issue with ECMC where agencies have been trying to make trauma alerts with that instead of using the trauma hotline. So we've had some correspondence with Muru on this, and they have no capacity to put a second call to action button on there as of yet. So I just want to remind everybody that until ECMC makes up their mind about changing the number, you do have to scroll a little bit if you're taking a trauma there to where it says actually the trauma hotline, and that's where the number. And then the other thing within Muru, Scott then reached out to me from Catholic Health regarding Kenmore Mercy and the hospital number change. So that number was changed in Muru. Now, if it's not changed in your app, you may need to close out your app, restart your app, and then it'll update. That's very big on iPhones. Sometimes they don't update properly unless you do that. BLSFR certifications, I still have a few agencies that I'm working with. There's one in Genesee County, one in Niagara County, that's been a paperwork shuffle. The district chief that handled this stuff primarily before has now retired. So there's a new gentleman taking care of it. But just a reminder, you got to stay on top of your BLSFRs, because especially if you're in the CME program, I mean, if your BLSFR expires, your funding's out the door. So want to remind everybody about the Vital Signs Conference in October. And also be aware that after the 29th of September, the registration cost does increase. So if you're planning on going, I would urge you to sign up early. And then finally, pre-inspections. We've been actively out there doing pre-inspections before the DOH comes in. And what we have found are still a lot of O2 bottles that are expired. You know, the hydro test is expired. And the common thing we're hearing is, well, we outsource that. And point blank, it's the agency's responsibility. So you really need to get on your vendors to make sure that they're getting these things hydro tested. The other thing were the CLIA licenses, making sure that the paperwork is in and that those are updated. Your policies and procedures, that is outlined in Part 800. And, you know, policies that were written in 2003 may not necessarily be adequate policies for 2023. So they definitely have to be updated. And then I've identified a few agencies that have had some pretty good comprehensive quality assurance problems. So transporting agencies and BLSFRs, mainly you gotta have a QA process. It's gotta be there. And you know, it does state that it's not only in-house, but you've gotta take part in a regional QA as well. So we're here to help. So if anybody identifies something or looks into something in your agency and says, hey, you know, what's your thoughts? Please reach out to us. That's what we're here for. You know, we're to help you along and make sure you guys succeed. That's it.
Training Education Committee, 2 temporary administrative staff were added. John McMillan's position is going to be posted shortly. There's a new staff member. He's going to be working with PSI and focusing on reciprocity. The state had to extend their contract with PSI. PSI renegotiated for a higher fee per test. So going forward, all exams will be $31. If your sponsor or agency purchased vouchers, they will still honor the $28 vouchers for the testing. But if the students are paying for it out of pocket or they're gonna be reimbursed by your agency, it's $31 now. If you go to the BEMS website under like certification, there's a fact page for the testing and stuff. There is a link in there for any issues with PSI. Please send in any issues that you're encountering or that people taking the tests are encountering, because if the state doesn't know about it, they can't help fix it. Because they open up a ticket for every issue that comes up. So, another topic of conversation that came up is there was a recommendation to eliminate a practical skills examination for original paramedic courses in July 2024, starting July 2024. What are your thoughts on that?
What's the theory behind that?
Yeah, why would you eliminate that?
National Registry, to mirror National Registry. Because they do like skills portfolios. So instead of doing a PSE, they have to show proficiency with the skill several times throughout the class.
So is that what they're gonna do?
Yeah, they would be building
So it's not
portfolios.
just taking away the skills.
No, so they're not just taking away the skills, they're taking away the day of stress where you have students crying and vomiting and, you know, things like that. So they put together like a portfolio, the sponsors would decide how many times they have to do it, like to show proficiency, and then they would get signed off by evaluators showing that they were proficient with the skill.
So they would have to have done that a couple of 3 times? or more?
Three times or more.
Okay, so this would just be eliminating the one shot that we all didn't like
Correct,
before we could take the written test.
correct.
And if I understand correctly, the other levels of care will follow suit down the road and possibly the standard recertification?
Correct. So yeah, it's not taking away students showing competency with skills, it's just taking away the one to 2 day testing days.
Anything that keeps the skills the same, but makes it easier, I'm in favor for, because it seems like a lot of our problems with recruitment and so forth come from state regulations.
So you guys like that? Showing proficiency throughout a class?
What are gonna be the requirements from the state though on how many times? I mean, we've seen what some of these programs do. They're like, oh, yep, did it once, good, here you go. And then they're out killing people 6 months later.
And unfortunately, I wasn't at the state meeting to hear the entire conversation about it, but I know other states that do it. If you Google like the Tennessee paramedic program, they have a really nice one. And I think students have to do, they have to get successfully signed off 5 times before they're recommended for passing. And that's this is great. Like, what do you guys think would be fair? Like, is 3 times enough? Do we think it needs to be 5 or 6?
Is it by multiple instructors?
Yes.
Instead of just, okay.
Yep. So, and it'd be like by multiple instruct, because the way, and I hate to reference Tennessee, but the one that I saw, like, the first time was when they were shown how to do it and they could like parrot like what the instructor was doing. And then they had like a peer review, and then they were signed off by, I think 3 different instructors. That's just how they did it.
For doctors and nurses, how do they do it?
I don't think they really listen.
The license fee.
It's not comparable. The programs aren't comparable.
So they don't have to show that they can do,
Has there been any comparison, like KPIs between different states, and what they require and what their medics are meeting?
I think they're looking at that. Again, I wasn't there for the meeting, so I'm not familiar with all the nuances.
I mean, I think that would be a much more beneficial approach than just trying to
Okay.
figure out a number.
Right.
Is the thought process behind this to try to make it easier to pass the paramedic program? Because I feel like every time we make a decision and changing a level of care, it's to make it easier to pass. Just like when we took innovation out of AEMT.
Yeah.
While I don't agree with the monkey see, monkey do skill stations, you know I hate that.
Right.
I feel like this was a, like, let's pick another thing to make it easier to get them through, because we need paramedics. We do, but we need competent paramedics.
We do. And what I was told is we want to more closely align with National Registry, and that is the way National Registry is going to be going.
Is going to be going, so they're not there yet, or they're already there?
I'm not a paramedic, I don't know.
There.
They're already doing it that way?
Are they already there, Mike? Okay.
Yeah, they're really trying to align us with national scope, national education standards, and national registry. I think that down the road at some point, I think you're just gonna see national registry. That's my opinion in New York State.
I think it's going that way too. I'm kind of, I'm weary of the, let's just make it easier for them to pass.
And that comes back to your instructors though, you know, I mean,
How's it
you're
make it easier for them to pass?
continually evaluating that person through the program, and it's your instructor's job to make sure that they know.
Well, I don't
you know?
disagree, but you've seen some of the instructors. Oh, thanks for showing up today. Here you go. And then we have not competent paramedics. Not that all paramedics are like that, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, but it sounded like you're gonna have to have different instructors. Like, you can come in and say, I'm gonna test you today. You know, Mike comes in the next time and you're gonna get to, it's gotta be with someone different. I wouldn't think the same instructor should be able to sign
It
it
also
off.
depends on the course sponsor, because some course sponsors don't have that many instructors.
Well, that's part of the problem too.
Yeah, then, yeah, I was gonna say, then who's gonna be signed off to be able to do that?
Is the New York State, skills above or below the National Registry? Are we doing it above them or below? If we go to the National Registry, is it a step up or a step down?
I think it's a different step.
Yeah.
Yeah, the skills are generally the same, and the state has gone, for the medics, the state has gone to using mostly National Registry skill sheets anyways, so when they do the monkey see, monkey do skill station, it's based off of the National Registry skill sheet. It's just instead of coming one day and, for 2 days and blasting out all your skills, you get it signed off throughout class. But I still, like, what are the regulations gonna be on that? I think that's the important piece.
Because you can't have your instructor signing you off for the class. I
So
see
like
what
your
you're saying,
IC
yeah.
can't sign you off.
Yep.
And then, like Mike said, a lot of course sponsors don't have enough instructors to be able to go through that. You know, like I know when I taught out here, I was super short-staffed on instructors, so it was really hard to put together sign-offs.
Mhm. I see what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds good in theory, but I think it's gonna be difficult to
What's the execution?
actually execute
Yep.
it. So, okay, now I get where you're going, yeah.
More conversation? No? All right. Is anybody having any issues with getting their CME research in a timely fashion? So like Mike mentioned, first time in a really long time, they increased the reimbursement for EMT and AEMT. So EMT actually got bumped twice this year. The first bump was up to $800. This bump takes it up to $950. The advanced class, which had a ridiculously low reimbursement rate of like $600 or something, that also got bumped up to $950. We're getting a little bit more on PSCs. I think that only went up like $25, but that's better than nothing. Any instructors or agency leaders, I would suggest you guys look at the 2 policies that were updated that Mike brought up. There are a lot of really good opportunities for course sponsors and for agencies to have new ways of teaching something. In the 2308B, they have a pilot BLS Intro to Paramedicine program. So this could be a 60 to 100 hour, basically AEMT or EMT refresher course, which would introduce your students to what a paramedic program looks like. And that would, so it's for a class of up to 30 students, and it would reimburse $550 per student. What else do we got? The pilot EMS agency community internship program, where if you have somebody that's thinking about joining you, but they're not actually voted in as a member yet, so you can't sign the VOM form, they do an internship with you, which would make them eligible for funding, so they don't have to pay out of pocket. They have a pilot leadership development program, a pilot recruitment and retention, EMT course funding opportunity, which was what Mike was talking about, where if somebody joins your agency and they've taken a class in the last 2 years, they work with you for a year, they can get $850 back for what they paid out of course. The 2309B, which talks about course funding and agencies, just be familiar and stuff with that. Not really a whole lot more than the funding increases. All right. Committee reports, bylaws, none. Finance, none. CON.
No report. We have no active applications.
All right, that's a good thing. Awards dinner. I am the chair again this year because I got voluntold to do it.
By anybody we know?
Yeah, the big, the other chair that should be up here. I would really like to work with at least a couple more people so we can make this a spectacular event. I wasn't horribly disappointed with the way it went last year, but I know it can be much, much better. But I'm not very creative. I don't think outside the box a whole lot. So I'd really love some people to help me.
I think Bree would like to do that.
I was gonna say, I'll help.
I can help you. I'll help you if Bree will help you.
Okay.
It's all on you, Bree.
Bree, are you in?
She is
Seeing
creative.
how this voluntold thing is starting to work.
You're on board?
Yeah, I suppose.
She'll be on board because I'll have to be on board with
All
her.
right, so Bree, Sean, Cora. Did I see you back there nodding, Kristen?
When is it?
We have to pick a date as a committee. I'd like to try and do it in April again.
Right.
Thank you. Beautiful. Look at how easy that was. DOH report. Lisa, what do you got?
Not much.
Okay.
I'll add to what Mike was saying earlier about hydrostatic test dates. What we're noticing is the supplier will essentially check the date, or check the tank before the hydro date and won't bother to re-stamp it. So by their standards it's acceptable, but by ours it's not. So what you may need to do is just include something in your contract with them that says they have to give you a tank that has an appropriate stamp date on it. Most of them have been receptive. I haven't heard any pushback from that, but nothing else for me.
No medical director. Catholic Health.
Hi, I want to introduce myself in case you don't know me, most do in the room. My name is Rob Orlowski. I'm the new EMS liaison with Catholic Health. I'll be joining the team. We're pretty excited about a lot of cool stuff we got coming up. The biggest is the Lockport Hospital opening in October. I will be working with the local fire companies for some extra training dates as it gets closer to opening. Tentatively, I say this tentatively, I don't know if it's completely, but it's tentatively at this point of October 10th will be the opening of the new hospital. That day, the current NAC will close, the new hospital will open, and hopefully it'll go off without a hitch. Great. There are a bunch of rumors circulating about St. Mary's Hospital. St. Mary's Hospital is not closing. St. Mary's Hospital is open for business. I put up a bunch of flyers up front if you want to take a couple of them and give them to your people. The only thing that we lost at St. Mary's was surgical services and OB. So we still have stroke services. We still have a fully functioning ER, a fully functioning ICU. We admit people to the hospital. There's a big rumor that we send everybody out that comes to the ER that is incorrect. There's also another rumor floating around that we're closing our CT and MRI scanners. That is also incorrect. And I highly encourage to let your providers know if they have any questions at all regarding the services that St. Mary's offers or has any questions to contact one of us on the liaison team. And we'd love to just have a conversation with you and let you know what is going on. We're making some really big strides on turnaround times at that hospital, so ambulances that come there get out quickly. We've increased and made better the food that we provide to the first responders in the EMS room. So it's a pretty exciting place, actually. It's a lot of good stuff going on. What's that?
I heard it's been noticed.
It has been noticed, food, right?
I heard.
If there's any requests, let me know. We got a new chef, and he's pretty excited about putting some stuff in there. We're very excited to say we are now an NAEMT site for training. We are offering our first PHTLS class in October in Lewiston on the 14th and 15th. The class is filling up quickly, so if you're interested or have any providers that are interested, to give us a call. Along with that, Scott then is working on a brand new geriatric class that's brand new to us through NAEMT that we will be offering for CV purposes. We're really excited about our sim mom that we have right now. We got a new simulation, our simulation truck's been around a while. We have the ability to use a new sim mom that will deliver babies as close as you can tell to the real thing. It's pretty cool. If you get a chance, all you gotta do is contact us if you're interested in seeing it. Our sim truck is out a few nights a week, and we'll bring it right to your station for your drill. And one last thing, we really started to push a little bit more, and we're super excited that everybody is starting to jump on board with our Pulsera program. Pulsera is a pre-hospital notification system that is innovative. It's amazing. The minute you guys start that piece for saying you're bringing us a patient, say if you're bringing a stroke, the whole stroke team's notified, the pharmacy's notified, everyone with the touch of a button. We do have a Pulsera class that we are offering that we will, again, offer you if you'd like, give us a call. We'll bring it right out to your fire station. It's usually about an hour or two. Scott does that class pretty well. And he's going to be announcing some new training on that in the next month or two as well. So, any questions, you can give us a call.
And we bring dinner to all of our seniors.
You know, it's like food, it's like a thing. It doesn't matter. Thank you.
Does anybody have any new business that they want to bring forward? Yes, sir.
Has there ever been any studies done on why we do this? The psychology of first responders. I don't see how we can do recruitment and retention without knowing what triggers people to do this. I've been doing this long, I've probably forgotten why I did it, but I know on the far side we've had some studies and so forth, but they refuse basically to consider the psychology behind why people become first responders, whether it's paid or, because the pay isn't enough to really do it, make people say, I really want to do that. I'll make 15 bucks an hour, 20 bucks an hour, and I can do that at McDonald's. It would seem like that we need to do that, and in EMS, I'm assuming that there's some people that are psychologists and so forth that can do this for us. It would seem like that would be a good way to spend some money.
That is a good point. I will start asking that question.
Just, there's no point in saying, okay, this is how we ought to recruit, if nobody that we're trying to recruit gives a darn about that particular perk or, they say, well, if you do this, we'll knock $200 off your tax bill. Well, my young bucks are renters.
Right.
They could care less. And some of the older folks, the $200 is in your mortgage payment, so.
Right. No, very, very valid question. Anyone else have anything?
Mike, is there anything more on the, is there gonna be a CIC update? In the
Oh, like an instructor
Yeah.
update, or?
instructor update? CIC, CLI, is that?
Rob and I did talk about that, and something is supposed to be coming together before the end of the year, according to Rob, so.
Okay. Yeah.
Anyone else? Last thing I have is, I don't know if you guys are aware, but they did a documentary about EMS providers. It's called Honorable But Broken. The documentary is done. It is being premiered October 11th, way out in Westchester County though. I have been in contact with somebody who could help bring it this way. So if you know someplace that might want to host this, so that way we can get our providers to kind of take a look and see what's going on and watch this documentary, I will help get in touch with places and bring it out this way so everybody can see it.
Sarah, there's a big community room at the new hospital that'll have big screens and stuff in Lockport, so for that area, we'd be happy to host it there.
Okay, I'll get in touch with you. Awesome. So, yeah, so I don't know if you guys heard about it, so they had the Make EMS Essential thing that was out there. So the organization has decided to become more than that. It's actually just been rebranded as the EMS Sustainability Alliance. They are going forward and becoming a nonprofit organization. And making EMS essential is one of the tasks that they want to do. But they're looking to ensure that all citizens have fair and equitable fair and equitable chance to get good pre-hospital care, as well as to be an advocate for EMS providers, paid or volunteer. So there should be some interesting things coming up with that within the next year. But yeah.
One thing we're on the east side of 98. We don't transport to Buffalo or any of those places. So, what we do like to hear about, strong change in the entrance into the ER before we get there. I get there and it is all blocked off. We had to wheel the patient 200 feet in order to get the patient into the hospital. I was surprised. Not pleasantly, but.
I'll handle that one. So I'll reach out to our counterpart in Nolan's, and we'll see that they copy us on things like that.
Yeah, because I know that they're doing a lot of construction around the ER, but I was up there one day and I'd pull up to the door and drop the patient off and pull around the park, and the next day, it's all blocked off.
Right. Yeah, I'll give them one right now.
Was there anything else? All right, do I have our next meeting will be on November 15th at 7 p.m. 1900. Kristen, can we hold that at Ridgeway?
I was gonna ask you.
Why not?
Just put you on the spot there. So November 15th, 7 p.m. at Ridgeway. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Oh, look at that, we got a motion and a second all in one. All right, have a beautiful evening.
That started at 6.